Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Denise Romano. We're very happy you could join us for this informative presentation on humor as an essential coping skill with Brian Luke Seaward, PhD. On behalf of the Smilow Wellness Workshop Committee and Dr. Seaward, we welcome you. Smilow Wellness Workshops are offered to patients, their family, volunteers, and staff with the mission of empowering individuals to take control of their own health and wellness. The program features free interactive workshops, now on Zoom, about 4 or 5 per year, that reaffirm the importance of caring for the person as a whole, body, mind, and spirit, designed to complement traditional lectures and health talks. Each workshop focuses on wellness. The committee who plans and conducts these workshops consists of Gisela Boxleitner, Mark Lambeck, Bud Wassell, Nicole Lazara, Danielle Sagnella, Beverly Block, and myself. I would also like to recognize and thank Lisa Adams from our audiovisual department, who helps us with all the technical magic behind the scenes. These workshops have all been recorded, and you can find them on the Integrative Medicine resource site. Please let us know if you have any suggestions for future topics, and remember to complete the electronic survey at the end. It will pop up when we have completed, and it takes less than 2 minutes to complete. So hang in there at the end, because we really value your feedback. We'll take questions once Dr. Seaward goes through his presentation. Use the chat or Q&A to ask your questions. So I'd like to introduce Brian Luke Seaward, PhD. He is regarded as one of the foremost experts in the field of stress management and a pioneer in the fields of mind, body, spirit healing and corporate health promotion. He's authored more than 20 books, including the classic bestsellers, Stand Like Mountain, Flow Like Water, The Art of Calm, and Stress is Dessert Spelled Backward, and the leading college textbook, Managing Stress, which is in its 10th edition. Dr. Seaward's mission, as expressed through his legacy of acclaimed books, documentary films, photography, and public appearances, is to make this a better world in which to live by having each of us reach our highest potential. A native of Glastonbury, Connecticut, Dr. Seaward has served on the faculty of the American University, as well as the University of Colorado Consortium for Public Health, and currently he is a guest faculty member of the Graduate Institute in Bethany, Connecticut. His classes and retreats are endorsed by the American Holistic Nurses Association, and he offers certification as Holistic Stress Management Instructor. Dr. Seaward is the Executive Director of the Paramount Wellness Institute in Boulder, Colorado. He can be reached via his website, www.brianlukeseaward.net. And if you get a chance to go on the site, you will see spectacular photography that he has there. So now here to remind us to remember to be playful and to laugh is Dr. Seaward.
Great, thanks Denise, and thanks Gisela and all the people who have made this possible today. It's a real pleasure to be here with you, and let's begin. So we call this comic relief, humor as an essential coping skill, and in this day and age, I think we can say that this is truly very much the case in point. We all need to have a sense of humor to get through the times that we're in, no matter who we are and what we got going on our plate. So I was thinking of how I could begin this, and I thought I'd begin with a little bit of interactive type questions. So let me just put this out there. Who is your favorite comedian? No wrong answers, but I just think, who comes to mind when you hear the word comedian? And you can think back to when you were watching television back perhaps, or is it your movies and such? Who comes to mind? And let's see if I come across someone who's on your screen here. Your mental screen. Do these people look familiar? Anybody here have these as your favorite comedians, or how about these guys? There's no short list of who we have as possibilities here, and I got one more set of people to take a look at. So when we think of comedians, we think of laughter, we think of humor, and this is someone who actually makes us smile. Now, the next question I have for you is, what's your favorite comedy movie? And there's no shortage here. We have scores of these, from Charlie Chaplin to Eddie Murphy on everything in between. So my question to you is, does any of these show up as some of your favorite movies? And I went through and tried to pull out some of my favorite movies. I thought I'd ask you if these ring true for you as well. And so we tend to, when we look for comedy, for humor, we tend to look for movies as one source for this. It's not the only source, but it's one source of this. And of course, a lot of comedians are in these movies. So you see the dots connect like that as well. Last but not least, at least for this question here, is what are some of your favorite TV shows? And I think we all have tapped into the wealth of binge watching the past year or so during this pandemic for some great comic relief. And there's no short supply of comedies. There's no wrong answer here, but I just thought I'd put up a couple of some of the things that have come into mind here. Of course, everything from Seinfeld, and I'm a real big fan of the new show called Ted Lasso. If you haven't seen that, highly recommend it. And of course, we have Schitt's Creek and God knows what else up here. If you don't see your show here, know that there's plenty to go around, but just kind of get you in the idea of the mindset of beginning to look for some comedians, movies, and TV shows to add into your toolbox for health and well-being, because humor is so essential. Well, one more question I have for you is this. A lot of times we exaggerate to try and show the absurdity of life. So you're having a bad day when, and I could ask you to fill this in for when you think you're having a bad day, but I went looking on the internet, I found this is the best answer. You're having a bad day when your dinner eats your lunch. Okay, insert laugh now. Well, I thought I'd try and paint a big picture of how humor fits into this picture of wellness and health and well-being. And it turns out that stress plays a big role in this. And so just to kind of give you a perspective, the nature of stress is huge. We could spend a lot of time talking about this particular aspect, but there's two kinds of stress. There's good stress and bad stress. Good stress is when you feel euphoric, you feel exhilarated, you actually feel happy. And this is actually where the humor comes into the play there. We could talk about distress, but not today. We want to acknowledge it, but we're not going to spend a whole lot of time with that. Well, it turns out that we do want to talk about stress physiology because that's important and plays a role in health. And it turns out that when you get stressed, your nervous system kicks in. If it goes on for a long period of time, it's also going to kick in your hormonal system. But when the hormonal system kicks in for too long, then it affects your immune system. And for everyone right now, and cancer patients are certainly no exception, when this is affected, then we've got problems. And so we want to try and minimize the effect of stress on the body. And there's scores of research that show that unresolved issues of anger and fear, anger, fight, fear, flight, tends to suppress the immune system. And so humor is a way to try and negate this. And it's not like we're talking rainbows and unicorns all day long here. We just want to try and find balance. And so we want to try and enhance the immune system, not suppress it, because we need every white blood cell we can get our hands on. But let's connect some dots. There's also all kinds of research to show that stress actually can make cancer worse, and we don't want that at all. And so when people heard this research and began to see the connection going on, they thought, is there any chance we can try and negate this and try and help our immune systems? And lo and behold, there is scores of research about how humor can be used for cancer patients and the cancer treatment. And it turns out that indeed it helps. No one ever says that humor cures cancer. And please don't get me wrong, I am not saying that either. But it does tend to bring some balance to our emotions, which is really essential in times of our health and well-being. And of course, right now, you throw on layers of stress with the pandemic, and we're all affected by this. No, we're not painting rainbows and unicorns here, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to actually paint the bigger picture and that show you that, yeah, now research has shown that humor can definitely have a positive impact in our cancer treatment. And I think that's a great thing, especially this integrative approach we talk about in terms of mind, body, spirit healing. But that's not alone. Here's another article I came across. Look at this, laughing at cancer, humor, empowerment, solidarity, and coping with the whole process of cancer. So lots of research studies. I'm not going to go into great detail, but enough to validate the idea that humor is very important in our healing process. And healing means to come to a place of sense of peace. That's really what we're talking about here. So you may have heard of this term positive psychology. That's the big buzzword these days. And basically what it means is basically we're going to have a sense of balance. If you get nothing else out of this talk, that's what we're trying to achieve here, is a sense of emotional balance, not get stuck into the anxiety of health or lack thereof. And cancer can definitely produce a lot of that because there's a lot of unknowns. But positive psychology says, let's bring ourselves a balance here. And of course, love being the biggest way to do that. This is not what positive psychology is. You notice I've mentioned this before already, this idea of rainbows and unicorns. We're not saying to deny yourself the sense of grief and frustration and anxiety. That's all part of the human experience, but we don't want to get stuck there. And so humor is a way to try and bridge this so that we can kind of like come to that sense of balance. And if I do my job correctly today, we'll see if we can kind of find that sense of balance. So this is for all the nurses. I know there's a few nurses in the audience. Denise, this one's for you. It says, nurse, the first person you see after saying, hold my beer and watch this. Well, I got to tell you, when I was asked by the people here to do this presentation on humor, I got a little nervous because I've done presentations for past 20 years on humor, and it's great to have an audience that laughs at what you've got to present. Everyone's mic is muted right now, so I can't hear anybody, which is good because I can't hear cats and babies crying. But the same token, you can't either. But the same token, I can't hear you laugh. And so I was watching Jimmy Fallon, and when he got his show moved from his studio to his house, he was doing his monologue, and all his jokes were falling flat until he got smart and began to use a laugh track. And so I took his idea, and I'm going to play every now and then a little bit of laughter to kind of like add in this audience feel. So even though I can't hear you laugh, I hope you're laughing because I have some funny stuff, but it's also funnier when we can hear other people laughing. So imagine you're an audience right now and we're all kind of gathered together and we're having a good time. So learn how to be your own best audience. This is the message of the day, because really this is what the message of wellness is. We got to take care of ourselves. And how many times have you laughed when you thought something was funny, no one else laughed? That's okay, because that's what we call a geographic joke. Well, I want to begin with this guy here. This is Norman Cousins, and he's known as the patron saint of humor therapy. He had a very serious illness, wasn't cancer, but was an autoimmune disease, and he was told he was going to die. He had a 1 in 500 chance of survival. And he checked out of the hospital, went to a hotel, and as the truth be told, he actually began to watch all kinds of funny movies. And he actually got better, and he got better like this. He basically said this: if negative emotions, anger and fear, can cause physical dysfunction, is it possible that positive emotions like laughter, humor, can restore him back to health? He said, I got nothing to lose. And then he said this: each person must take responsibility for his or her own health. And so he left the hospital with his doctor's blessing, went to a hotel across the street, and began to watch Charlie Chaplin movies and things like Laurel and Hardy, things like the Marx Brothers, Philip to Spirits. And of course, the Three Stooges was one of his favorites. And the Little Rascals, one of my favorites. And then he actually got better. And he wrote an article, and then he wrote a book about it. And the book's called Anatomy of an Illness as Perceived by the Patient. And in this book, there's like 130 pages in this book. Only 2 or 3 pages about humor, but everyone focused on this one sentence he had in this book. And the sentence was this: he said, I made the joyous discovery that 10 minutes of genuine belly laughter had an anesthetic effect and would give me 2 hours of pain-free sleep. And this revolutionized how we see health right now, to think that psychosomatic is not just about making yourself sick, you can actually make yourself better. In this case here, they have some quality sleep. Well, people have been studying the physiology of laughter ever since then. That was about 1964. And we now have research to show that laughter tends to boost the immune system. It tends to increase all kinds of brain chemicals, which tend to give balance to our physiology. No one's ever said humor and laughter has cured a disease, but it does bring a sense of balance. And that's what the message really here is. And so people have been looking at the history of humor for quite some time. And, back to ancient Greece, we have both comedies and tragedies in the theater. And I'm not saying that we would laugh at some of their theater, but, back then I suppose it worked. But even in the Bible, there's a quote that says, "A merry heart does good like medicine, but a poor spirit drieth the bones." And people say, if it's in the Bible, it's got to be true, right? Well, I found this actually was a bit of humor in the Dark Ages. I thought that was a little clever. Even some of the Masons had a sense of humor there. But back in the Middle Ages, the word humor means moisture. And so the idea was you had four humors in your body: choler, bile, blood, and phlegm. And if you had too much of any one of these, you were in poor humor. So if you had too much choler, you were melancholy. That's where that word comes from. Too much bile, you were angry or hostile. Too much blood, you were giddy or delirious. And if you hawked a loogie, then you were actually apathetic. Then comes the Victorian age. I think history is kind of interesting here. But look at these quotes of the Victorian age. "Laughter on any occasion is immoral and indecent." My goodness. How about this? "Laughter obscures the truth, hardens the heart, and stupefies understanding." Ouch. And then look at this. "A man of parts and fashion is only seen to smile, but never heard to laugh." That was Lord Chesterfield. And the reason why is because if you were laughing, it was thought to be a sin, and nobody wanted to be caught sinning because, they put you in the stockades or something. So these people did not have the word cheese on their lips when they were taking this photograph taken. You can tell they look pretty serious there. One of my students gave me this: "Have a day." Yep, not even a nice day, just have a day. Well, we got to define humor. So here's a couple of definitions, and there's no agreement here. How about this? Humor, the quality of being funny or appreciating funny thoughts or acts of behavior, the ability to perceive and enjoy what is funny or comical, a state of mind, a feeling or mood. Yeah, but there's some people who say it's not a mood, it's a perception. So how about this? Humor, the mental experience of discovering and experiencing ludicrous or absurd ideas, events, or situations that bring pleasure or enjoyment to the individual. So they talk about a perception, and Lord knows how many times have you thought you heard the funniest joke and you tell somebody and they don't laugh, they don't get it. Well, it's perception. And I pray to God that your perception is the same as mine when I share with you some funny stuff later on today. Otherwise, I will be laughing alone. So we definitely want to get rid of the elephant in the room. There's appropriate and there's inappropriate humor. In case you're wondering, this is the inappropriate stuff, and we're not going to have examples of this today. But I just want to make it really clear that this is not appropriate humor, and it's not appropriate for any occasion at any time. So we don't do that because it creates stress. It doesn't alleviate stress. And our whole purpose here today is to alleviate stress. So we don't even think about it. That's the idea behind that. Well, I was in academia, as you heard, and full time, and I taught a class called Humor and Health. And I got to tell you, I read lots of books, none of which were funny, I might add. But I did come across some interesting wisdom that said that there's 4 reasons why we laugh and smile. This, by the way, is one of my friends who's a nurse, an oncology nurse. Her name is Fran. And I just thought I'd throw that in there because she's quite the character. But these are the 4 reasons why we laugh and smile: the superiority theory, incongruity, the release relief, and the divinity theory. Let's take a closer look. So the superiority theory says the reason why we laugh and smile, and by the way, this comes to us from Plato, so this is like thousands of years old. It says the reason why we laugh and smile is because we laugh at other people's expense. So here are some examples of this. And the higher up they are in authority, the more we laugh. So, if the Queen of England picks her nose, then haha, we laugh. Looks like people are really going at it there. Tiger Woods, the golfer, he's down the hole, not looking too good, we laugh. This I got from Life magazine, was the last photograph. They used to have a last photograph be like a humorous photograph called Parting Shots. And of course, I just got this off the internet. It'd be helpful if they could actually spell, but we won't go there on that one. You'll see spelling's actually pretty good. This is a bad day water skiing. Looks like Matthew McConaughey, if you ask me. I hope he got his suit back. You get the idea. And then this is one of my friends gave me this from Tennessee. It says redneck smoke alarm detector. Insert laugh now. Let's try a little bit of laughter. Okay, there we go. This is given to me by a woman who's blonde. Now, a blonde can make a blonde joke. The rest of us do not make blonde jokes. Okay, the next theory, by the way, that one's more emotional based. This one's more cognitive based. The next theory is called the incongruity theory. This is, hi, this is Dial-A-Psychic. We knew you were going to call us, so we called you first. So these are things that don't make sense. Two things that come together. When they come together, you just kind of scratch your head and then you get a laugh. So here are some examples. Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin entered a Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest in Switzerland. He got 3rd place. Whatever you do, always give 100%, unless you're donating blood. You might want to hold back a little bit. Sorry, we are closed due to short staff. Hire taller staff because I need a taco. And how about this? More laughter there. Yeah, incongruity. Here's a little video for you.
Premium light. Some drink it because they're responsible. What?
I like the what? Tired of being fat and ugly? Just be ugly. Come to the gym. And what? It's Casual Friday, isn't it? This was given to me by a nun, by the way. I thought that was pretty funny. So it's incongruous to see a nun in a miniskirt, in case you didn't get that. I'm already disturbed. Please come in. And then, of course, Jay Leno's got all kinds of things. He's no longer on Late Show, but you get the idea. Anyway, here's some examples from his headlines. Famous Jay Leno headlines. Must sell health food store due to failing health. An Ohio man, 79, pronounced dead, but says he feels much better now. Don't try that at home, please. Literate, right for free help. And would it be cool if we had genetic engineering to make dogs look like this? Would it be cool to have Dalmatians in different colors? But be careful, because we could have a ferocious man-eating rabbit. Yes, that could be problematic. And again, incongruity. Two things come together, they don't make sense. You get a laugh like this. Anybody recognize that guy in Star Trek? Okay, so the next theory is by Freud. He actually had a theory about humor. It's called the release-relief theory. It's also called taboo humor. And this is the stuff that can kind of get you in trouble. So I had to clean this one up, but just to give you some examples of things which say that basically the reason why you laugh and smile isn't because of the expense of somebody else. Isn't because you don't get it cognitively. It's because of suppressed sexual desires. So here we go. Or things which basically just say, no, that's taboo. So you see something like this, that might be in the category of this. I saw this on the internet. That was pretty funny. It says, day 1 of Noah's Ark. And this says, good luck breeding those 2 lions. You're 2 men. Not going to happen. This says, by any chance, have you been rubbing the Viagra on your head and swallowing the Rogaine? Look at this guy's tail. And here's spell check when you need it. I'll tell you, we need it. For some reason, a lot of people have a hard time spelling with spell check. I'll let you read this on your own, but you get the idea that you wonder how these things pass muster, and I don't know, it's unbelievable. I got one more for you. Shoplifters will be prostituted. I think they have the wrong word there, but when you see this is an example of what Freud would say is taboo humor. And then, of course, it's spell check. We need it everywhere, not just there, but this is all the more reason to be a vegetarian, I think. And I like this one. This is, everyone recognizes Marilyn Monroe, but this is when life imitates art. This is a real thing here in Scotland, I might add. If you palm itches, you're going to get something. If your crotch itches, you've already got it. Okay, the last theory is the divinity theory, and this is a spiritual theory. So we had one that was emotions, we had one that was cognitive, we had one that was physical, and now we have one that's spiritual. And this says the reason why you laugh and smile is because humor is a gift from God. Very different than the other theories, I might add. And by the way, when you see clowns, clowns are supposed to be dressed up in a derivation of the shamanic costume, where you couldn't tell if it was male or female. And so here are some examples of the idea of the divinity theory. I love this quote. It says, laughter is the shortest distance between 2 people. And when people are connected together, that's a spiritual concept. And there's actually books about this. I'm not making this stuff up. First book's called Humor, God's Gift by Tal Bonham. But then we also have The Joyful Christ, The Healing Power of Humor. When I took a look in here, I saw some pictures of Jesus that I didn't even know were possible. They look like my college roommates at the University of Connecticut. But anyway, there we go. But it's not just for Catholics, although this is actually a little Catholic joke here. And there's an Easter joke there for you. It's also something the Dalai Lama from the Buddhist tradition also celebrates. And he says laughter is so important. If you know anything about him at all, you know that he definitely loves to laugh and smile and uses that in all his presentations. And he has a really high-pitched laugh. It's pretty funny. And when you hear it, it's very infectious. So it's pretty cool too. And so here's a couple cartoons for you. It says, don't make the same mistake twice. Say no to reincarnation. These are the Reformed Buddhists. And here's one for you. It says, okay, everyone, now listen carefully. I don't want to end up with 4 different versions of this. It's a little New Testament humor there. Well, and the last but not least, my favorite book on the planet. It's called Children's Letters to God. If you get a chance, I highly recommend you pick this up. And my favorite letter in there is when this little kid writes, Dear God, I don't think Cain would have killed Abel if they had their own bedrooms. And he says, it works for me and my brother. All right, insert laugh. Now let's have more laughter there. Okay, there we go. Well, just to show you how complex humor is, not only are there 4 reasons why we laugh and smile, but there's also many different types of humor, which makes it rather complicated. In other words, you can have someone tell a joke and you can laugh at it for one reason, and somebody else can laugh at it for a whole different reason. And it's very, very complicated. The psychology of humor is complex at best. And so just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page, here are some different types of humor. The first one is called self-parody. This is when you make fun of yourself. And this is actually thought to be the highest form of humor, when you can make fun of yourself, but not at your own self-esteem. You don't want to lose self-esteem here. So some classic examples of this would be things like Rodney Dangerfield. We lost him a couple of years ago. We're losing so many great comedians from a certain golden age of humor, but it turns out that if you listen to his humor, it was very self-deprecating is the word they use. And so that's one example, but we have others. Have you ever heard of Jeff Foxworthy? He's real big on redneck humor. And I'll give you one example of his with your permission. He says, if you stare at a carton of orange juice because it says concentrate, you might be a redneck. All right, I hope you laughed at that one. Well, here's also making fun of yourself. You notice her license plate is upside down, but I gotta tell you, I've seen like about 15 cars like this. And there's one more for you. Apparently it's a trend. So it's okay when you make fun of yourself. This is good, but not at the expense of your own self-esteem. So self-parody, the ability to laugh at yourself without sacrificing your self-esteem. That is so important. And the expression, take yourself lightly is what it's all about. The next category is called satire and parody. And of course, all our talk shows seem to have a lot of this in there right recently. But it began before these two guys, actually began before these guys here. And the most famous show of all is Saturday Night Live. This is the not ready for primetime players. And I think we have a few people in the audience who probably recognize some of these phases here. We've lost a couple, but we still have a couple here. So I just thought I'd put that in there for old time's sake. But here are some examples of parody and satire. Mad Magazine, probably half of you grew up with that. And then how about this? The Complete Idiot's Guide for Dummies. And you can see that they actually spelt a lot of words wrong there for obvious reasons to get the laugh. And of course, we have some humorists, Dave Barry. Of course, we lost Art Buchwald and Irma Bombeck, but we have lots of humorists who basically take a lighter side of the look of life. And that's what this is all about. And here's one for you. This is college education. Of course, there's a lot of knowledge in universities. The freshmen bring a little in. The seniors don't take much away. So knowledge sort of accumulates. Insert laugh now. Okay. And of course, parodies are big with The Princess Bride and Shrek. Princess Bride was actually a great parody of a love story fable. And then that kind of got blown out of the water with Shrek. But again, they're some of the best comedies we have for this type of parody of fairy tales, if you will. The next type of humor is called political humor. And this is very topical. It changes from day to day, but this one says 99% of the cookies are eaten by 1% of the characters. Occupy Sesame Street. Insert laugh now. How about this one here? Climate change is a hoax. Okay, so you get the idea. Very, very topical. And oops, we just missed one. This one says not affiliated with Carnival Cruise Lines, because they've had their share of problems with all the boats there. The next type of humor is called slapstick, and slapstick actually is a physical farce. The word slapstick comes to us from French theater, where back in the day, they actually had a piece of leather nailed to a board that would recreate the sound of getting slapped across the face. Of course, the person didn't get slapped. It was all a sound effect, and that's where that word comes from. But it really means physical farce, and it's a way to help deal with aggression at an unconscious level, so that when you see someone who gets a pie in the face, you laugh because at some unconscious level, you would like to have someone get a pie in the face or slip on a banana peel. So the examples of this would be the Marx Brothers. Now, granted, Groucho did all kinds of humor. He was a genius, but the physical farce from vaudeville was definitely the biggest example of that. And then, of course, we have the Three Stooges. Classic example of this. A lot of people thought that humor was stupid, but in one sense, it was genius in how they pulled this off. And then, of course, my favorite, Lucille Ball. If you ever saw the episode with Vita Benjamin, then you know exactly what I'm talking about here. But she was just the queen of comedy with this slapstick approach to it. And here's a little video for you. Okay, if you laughed, it's because there's somebody who you wanted to have a turkey thrown at unconsciously. Now, also the cartoons like the Roadrunner, on the case in point, I mean, you get a frying pan over your head, and you shake your head out, and then your frying pan head turns back to its normal shape. This is all, a lot of people thought it was aggression-based humor, but really was a way to release tension. And that's the idea behind cartoons like this too. So slapstick. Now, the next one, perhaps some of you can relate to, it's called black humor. But black humor is not ethnic humor. Black humor is called a flirtatious brush with death. And the people who actually can laugh the most are the ones who are in the front lines of the healthcare industry, like nurses, doctors, first responders. But cancer patients also can relate to this. And so, I don't know if you see the humor here, but the woman in the casket's wearing the same dress as the woman who's there at her funeral. So insert laugh now. But here are some other examples. They also call this gallows humor, by the way. And this was, I found a slideshow for cancer patients. But the big show example is MASH. You know, the funny thing about this show was that the Korean War only went on for 3 years. This TV show went on for 10. And of course, Scrubs kind of like picked up on some of the medical humor, if you will, or the gallows humor, if you will. How about this one? It says, mind if I clear my browser history first? Insert laugh now. This is, Grandpa, can you make a noise like a frog? I don't know why. Because Grandma says when you croak, she'll take me to Disney World. Insert laugh now. And then this guy came out with a book, Louis Schaefer, with a book called The Best of Gravestone Humor. He went around to see who really got the last laugh and took a look at some tombstone epitaphs. And there's lots of them which are pretty funny, but here's my favorite. It says, here lies the body of Susan Lauder, who burst while drinking a seltzer powder. Call from this world to her heavenly rest. She should have waited till it ever best. And this says, it ruins the effect if I say who it is. Can't you just come down? Okay, get the idea about that. And just when you thought you couldn't take it with you, sure enough, that's the case there. And this is for all the nurses in the audience. Watch the woman with the dog. I think she just took a trip to the hospital. Okay, so that's that. The next category of humor, I think we lost count, we're at number 4 or 5, is called the double entendre. And the little joke says, urology department, can you hold? Obviously, double entendre there. So double entendre means there's 2 jokes going on, 2 different levels of this. And we see this a lot with things like James Bond. There was a lot of double entendres with the original James Bond. A lot of Disney movies. If you take your kid to see a Disney movie back, in the 70s and 80s, not so much now, but maybe, you're laughing at something, your kid's laughing at something, but you think you better be laughing at what I'm laughing at. You're just too young for that. But Disney knew how to write at two levels. And of course, if you ever watch Austin Powers, the same thing. So here are some examples of the double entendre. Clean up the earth. It's not Uranus. Tiger puts balls in the wrong place again. And now I want you to visualize a crack in a window. Let's see how well you do and see if it looks like this. I didn't think so. Yeah, that's a double entendre too. And then I saw this. This is an ad in someone's a Subway store. I'm not even going to go there on that one, but you get the idea. A lot of them have sexual connotations there, which goes back to Freud. So you see how the dots connect. The next type of humor is called irony. And this is when the exact opposite happens of what you think is supposed to happen. So usually dogs pee on a fire hydrant, but in this case, a fire hydrant is peeing on the dog. So some examples of irony. Someone says, can you guys please recommend a book that made you cry? And someone wrote down, organic chemistry made me cry. Insert laugh now. Okay, this one says, work center has been accident free since, it supposed to be a date, but they put since Joe left. Someone painted a tunnel on a bridge like this, and a car drove into it. Beep, beep, roadrunner there. That's kind of ironic. Question everything. And then someone else wrote down, why? And then someone says to Zuckerberg, my dad told me you're spying on us. And then he says, he's not your dad. Okay, a little irony there. Here's a boat called No Worries, which clearly they've got something to worry about there. A little irony there. And how about this? Jesus is watching, but the police have the radar. I thought this was great. This is a 6th grade spelling quiz. The only thing this kid got right was the word illiterate, which means you figure it out. And then, of course, parking space for wheelchairs. Very clever there. And this is for Walmart, a blue light special for Hanukkah. Obviously, the joke is these people don't eat ham, so there's the irony. And simplified 1040 tax form. How much did you make last year? Send it in. Psychic fair canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. Store closing, now hiring. All I can say is you better hurry if you want to work there. And hell has definitely frozen over. A little bit of irony there too. And this is for all the guys in the audience. Hopefully we have several, but this is the 3 stages of manhood. First stage, number 1. Second stage, number 2. And the third stage, punchline here, number 3. Hopefully you can't relate to that, but I hope you got a good laugh out of that. And how about this for irony? Very creative, I might add too. And here's some irony. People want some fitness, taking the escalator up to the top of the stairs there. Genuine fake watches. Actually, I took this picture when I was in Turkey. This is actually near Ephesus. And here's a little video for you.
WR107.
Okay, if you laughed, that was because you probably thought that was a little different than what you expected here. This is another one I thought was pretty good too. Here we go. The best workout partner. Okay, I hope you got a good laugh out of that one. Okay, the next type of humor is called absurd or nonsense humor. And we got two kings of comedy here. We have Gary Larson, The Far Side, or people who imitate him. And of course, Stephen Wright too. And so Stephen Wright's a comedian, very, very dry, very absurd. I'll give you one example of his humor. He says, I went to go play poker at a friend's house the other night and no one could find a deck of cards. So we played with a deck of tarot cards. He says, I got a full house and 4 people died. Where's my humor now? Okay, how about this? A cartoon. Look, stem cells. I think that's pretty clever. The next type of humor is called quick wit and wisdom. And here's some examples of this. And, you know, Garrison Keillor had this with Prairie Home Companion. A lot of comedians will do this, but a lot of times it goes over people's heads. And so here's an example. Everyone has a photographic memory. Some people just don't have any film. Here's one more for you. If you're going to learn to go skiing cross country, pick a small country. And how about this? Waiting for Godot. That's pretty quick wit, maybe. Next one, dry humor and puns. You know, I shudder to think about what you're going to see next because I swear to God, every time I show these, nobody laughs. They just kind of groan. And you know that you are hearing puns when you hear a lot of groans. So even though your mics are muted, I'm sure we're going to hear some groans across the miles, but here we go. Laugh anyway. You know, we need more laughter. So puns, a Freudian slip is when you say one thing but mean your mother. You can lock me up behind bars, but you can't keep my face from breaking out. That's a country song, by the way. What do you mean I'm not a bear? I have all the qualifications. And here's my favorite one. Need an arc? I know a guy. You can't plant any flowers if you haven't bought any. That's pretty clever, isn't it? We should use a little sense of humor on that one here. Okay. The next type is called bathroom humor. And you may think this is the lowest form of humor, but it's not. We got one more lower than this. Now, this also ties into Freud's idea of taboo humor. So you can see, again, the dots can begin to connect here. And so here are some examples of bathroom humor. And I got to clean this up a little bit, but you get the idea. That more bathroom humor. I'm not sure what was going on there, but someone took a picture of it. Clever place for a door handle, don't you think? Or maybe not so clever, I don't know. And this is where bacon cheeseburgers are come from, in case you're wondering. I'll never eat lunch in this town again. And all I can say is that tattoo better not be on my daughter. You're just wondering, what were they thinking? And this is a new type of humor. We call it Corona pandemic humor. I'm not sure about you, but I've been watching kind of like how people have been adjusting to all this stuff going on. And humor is definitely one way to cope with the stress of the pandemic, aside from everything else. So here's some things which you may have already seen before, because there are a lot of memes on Facebook and social media, but I thought they were pretty funny to share again. So here goes. Marty, whatever happens, don't ever go to 2020. This is from Back to the Future. And this is another example of social distancing. Oh, that was pretty clever. Come to the dark side. We have respirator masks. That's for all the nurses. And that's a takeoff on a famous painting. There's a toilet paper shortage. Of course, now we have a gas shortage, but you get the idea. And this is a guy who says, Dad on phone, no barking. It must be a Zoom call. And of course, the whole toilet paper shortage created a lot of humor. I'll let you insert your own laughter there. And of course, this was also the whole idea about who's going to escape and repopulate the species, the 2 oldest people on the planet. I don't think so, but anyway, there was a funny meme there. Social distancing, the Last Supper, a little bit more Catholic humor there, I suppose. I like this one. It says, this mask won't protect you from COVID, but it sure will keep you with social distancing. And this says, you're not going to wear a polka dotted face mask with a plaid shirt. little comic control. Oh, I forgot. This is my favorite one here. It says, it was only a matter of time before Karen met the man of her dreams. I can't believe people were out there using this stuff for face masks. But sure enough, unbelievable. And then how about the maker of Pez joins forces with Vatican to distribute communion wafers during the pandemic? I don't know why I have so many Catholic jokes here, just what's being posted on social media, but I thought I'd share it with you for irony. And then this is quarantine day 8. Look at the kid up here with duct tape. and the 4 stages of quarantine with Mona Lisa. And then some people actually were very creative trying to recreate masterpieces. And so you see the little girl off to the right side, like the painting on the left. And then we have this Norman Rockwell imitation, which I thought was pretty good. That's about my style of artwork right there. And then here's one of famous Greek statues or Roman statues. And here's when you've worked a long day at the COVID vaccination site. Take a look at where this nurse is putting the needle. Insert laugh now. This one I thought was great. It says, I got vaccinated, but I still want some of you to stay away from me. Insert laugh now. Well, this is the lowest form of humor, sarcasm. The word sarcasm means to tear flesh. And it turns out that this does not reduce stress, it promotes stress. So we don't advocate this at all. And for the queen of sarcasm, Roseanne Barr, turns out that she's not alone with this. We also have the comic strip of Dilbert, which is called Biting Humor, but we even have things like Maxine. So I would suggest that this is not the best way to go to get your sense of humor. I mean, you may find it funny, but we can do better than that. So what does the research say? The research says that the average person doesn't laugh enough. The average kid laughs 300 times a day, but the adults, not so much. And when we're in the hospital sick, 0. And so the research says we got to re-examine this and try and get what we now know is our quota of 15 laughs a day. The research shows that we need at least 15 laughs a day, and hopefully we're going to get that in the next couple of minutes because we got to get our quota too. So hopefully we can see how this goes here. So humor is a great way to reduce stress. Again, to connect some dots, because we know stress can suppress the immune system. We want to try and boost the immune system. So let's go with this. So time to lighten up. So I got to tell you, when I taught this class at the American University, I told my students, we got to try and improve our sense of humor. And every book I read said, you can't, you're stuck with what you got. And I thought, God, if I tell them that, they're going to crucify me. So I made up this fictitious list of ways to improve your sense of humor, and they bought it. And I thought, if they can buy it, maybe I can fool you too. So here goes, ways to improve your sense of humor. Okay, number 1, don't take yourself too seriously. Take yourself lightly. And so here are some examples of that. If I saw this guy driving down the highway on, 84, 86 or so, 91, I'd be laughing. I think it's pretty funny. Family portrait, pretty clever there. Don't take yourself too seriously. This says, you've got gallstones, kidney stones, bladder stones. Welcome to the Stone Age. Here's one for you.
Another dangerous game kids play is to tunnel in snowbanks near the road. A few years ago, one boy...
That was pretty good. How about this?
911, what's your emergency? Yeah, my wife got attacked by a warthog real bad, and I need someone to come up with an ambulance and pick her up. Okay, sir. Can you give me your address? Yeah, we're at 1825 Eucalyptus Drive. Okay, could you spell that for me, sir? I'm going to drag her on over to Oak Street, and you can pick her up there.
Okay, insert laugh now. Well, again, making fun of yourself. This is actually a new tattoo that the people getting who don't have any hair. That was pretty clever. And of course, take yourself lightly. Here's one more video. All right, there we go. This is Patch Adams. He's a very famous doctor. You probably saw Robin Williams portray him in the movie Patch Adams. But anyway, he never wants his photograph taken without doing something funny, so I had to join in with him. But there's me with Patch Adams. When all else fails, see the big picture. We are not the center of the universe. Hey, number 2, find one humorous thing a day, and you don't have to look too hard. Keep looking. Keep looking. It says, and then I said was, gee, honey, J-Lo is your age. Ends up in the hospital. Sorry, we are closed. We out of meat. Again, we're spell check when you need it. This is when dads get bored babysitting. I don't know. I hope this never happened, but I think it did. And honk if you love Jesus. Keep texting if you want to meet him.
Hey, Mom. Hey, say hi to the camera, Mom.
I can't believe he was still filming. Anyway, don't take yourself too seriously. And find one funny thing a day. There we go. That was pretty clever, huh? Silence is golden. Duct tape is silver. And when I saw this, I thought it was the funniest thing. Hopefully you got some humor out of that too. Now, you know, bad habits are hard to break, but they're even harder when you get to be old. Oh my God, this stuff keeps on going there. And how about this? Bobby has 36 candy bars. He eats 29. What does he have now? So diabetes. Bob has diabetes. Don't drink and drive. Look how they spell don't. And my boss told me to change the stupid sign. So I did. Redneck horseshoes. Keep looking for something funny every day. Employee of the month. Boy, that's not a good sign, is it? Caution, this sign has sharp edges. Don't touch the edges of the sign. Also, the bridge is out ahead. Yep. And again, we're spell check when you need it. So many examples of this. Like, if you go online, you can find lots of them. So this next one is to show you, one of my friends is a paraplegic, and he uses humor to help raise his spirits. And he said, you can add this to your slideshow. Here's how you can tell if Catholics are driving too fast. And here's how you can tell if doggos are driving too fast. And here's one more video for you. Okay, keep looking. Okay, we're kind of running out of time here. We want to save some time for questions, but I have a couple more here things to see if we can help you out. This is work to improve your sense of imagination and creativity. Dear sir, we would be delighted to have you work for our company, but not in this life. So we don't all have to be Disney, and Disney was actually very creative. And a lot of the things, like if you ever see Fantasia, it wasn't a comedy, but there's a lot of funny moments there. You know, we see hippopotamuses dressing up in tutus and dancing and such. But here's some things. When you see creativity and humor, they kind of go hand in hand. So here's when you don't have enough money for a car repair. This I thought was pretty clever. BB. And here's the Vatican elevator door, which is pretty clever, pretty creative, don't you think? And this is how to keep all the cookies to yourself, you know, so you can pinch your own cookies there. And I thought that was pretty clever. Some rock art. How about this invisible tape? I think you want to buy lots of that if you can. And this is a clever way to say that you're going to expect a baby. And that's actually a very clever way. I don't know how this guy's breathing, but yeah, definitely very clever. And look at this. This kid's in a hospital looking for pizza. I think it's a great idea. Very clever. And clever coffee beans. Imagine that. And this is a good idea for perhaps a good idea for a shopping bag. And this is a clever idea for a coffee cup, all different kinds of noses. We'll close. Great creative way for marketing.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät für das Überlebensradar. Mayday, Mayday. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? We are thinking. Hello? This is the German Coast Guard. We're thinking.
What are you thinking about?
Okay, let me see if we can go quickly here and get a few more in. Hang on just a second. I want to get to one more thing here. Well, that's creative hairdos, very creative hairdos, and cakes. And I think what we'll do is we'll close out there and save some times for questions. So there we go. And if there are no questions, I can go back. I got more slides to share with you, but the idea is see if we can entertain some questions now about humor and laughter and how it can bring balance into our lives. So with that, we'll open things up for questions.
Thank you for playing that, Luke. It's one of my favorite ones.
Just for you, Denise.
Thank you. See, it still makes me giggle, and that's like 10 times I've probably seen it, but that's all right. I don't think there are any questions per se. There were some people that were asking for the link for the integrative cancer center site, but Gisela put it in the chat box. So if you would like to access the links to the other presentations, they're all there, and this will be there by next week. So that's all. And if you have more and you want to throw some more, we have a couple of minutes. We usually can go to a little bit after 5.
Yeah, okay, great. Let's see if I got these here. I got some more videos too. Hang on a sec here. Well, so there's more creativity here. This is all hand painting, but isn't this clever? And these are some body paintings. It looks like it's a frog, but it's actually 3 people there. This is an ad I saw on a truck. It says Royal Rooter, where a royal flush beats a full house every time. And what about this? Put this outfit on your kid and then have them go walk the floors and clean at the same time. How's that? Pretty clever. Here's a video.
At the river mouth, the bears catch only the tastiest, most tender salmon, which is exactly what we at John West want. John West endured the worst to bring you the best.
That's some creative advertising. Okay, next one says, learn to hyper exaggerate when describing a story. All the comedians do this. You know, my twin brother's so ugly. How ugly was he? And so here's some examples of exaggeration. A haircut for one of the Queen's soldiers there. Got the spider. I guess so. They got more than that. This is Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. She goes, I didn't celebrate Christmas as a child. And Joan Crawford says, that's because Jesus wasn't born yet. Exaggerate. It's so cold in Washington. I saw a politician yesterday with his hands in his own pockets. And how about this? Saw this on Pinterest. Maybe you've seen these too. Didn't come out quite the same way they had hoped. And I just brushed my dog. Made a new one. If you have a husky, you know what that's like. The last car that parked here is still missing. And dating, exaggeration here. When not dating, a little joke there. I don't always listen to Metallica, but when I do, so do my neighbors. They have it real loud. Extreme fire hazard. Don't even fart in the forest. Okay, exaggerate. And this is the state bird, I think, in Minnesota. Look how the Walkman was back in 1990. Now look at it. Bigger headphones. And of course, a little comic relief there about things in the kitchen. Michelangelo's statue went on tour by the generosity of McDonald's. And got back, it didn't look too good. And this is actually on some road in Connecticut. You'll never get to work on time. And then how about this? Try to blame that one on the dog. Look at the dog's face. And if women rule the world, it'd be a much better place, but there will certainly be more bathrooms, that's for sure. And of course, the price of gas is going up. It's going up again too. So these are probably pretty current here. I like the one to the right. I was like, honey, would you go out and get some gas, please? Exaggerate. So this is exaggeration. Next one says, seek and find a host of various humorous venues. Now, we all think about TV, but TV is only a limited means. We could go much further than that. We also have comedy clubs, which are still, right now, probably not a venue you can go to, although things are opening up, I'm sure in Connecticut too, but all over the country because of the pandemic. But we invite you now to build your own humor library. And so all kinds of videos and cassettes and DVDs and things like that. But I have a homework assignment for you, and that is to create your own tickler notebook. This is an assignment I give all my students, all my people when I give talks on stress. So here's the assignment. I want you to begin to look for funny things, jokes, JPEGs, video snippets, birthday cards, Christmas cards, Dear Abby letters, Dave Barry columns, things that make you smile and laugh, because in the event you end up back in the hospital, most hospitals don't have a humor cart. You are going to have to take responsibility for your own health. Remember the research, we need 15 laughs a day. So what are things that make you smile and laugh? I got a huge collection of jokes that I have over the years. I got to tell you, one of my favorite things is that one of my friends went in, he had some prostate cancer, and he called me up and he said, I'm going to go in the hospital for surgery tomorrow. Can I have your joke collection, your tickle notebook? And I said, well, Stan, it's kind of personal. I'm not sure you're going to like what I like. And he goes, believe me, because I'll need it. So I went to the hospital, dropped it off. It said on there, do not open till after your surgery. And it turns out he called me up and he said, I almost popped all my stitches. So it turns out that here's some examples. I give this everywhere. A lot of people come back to me and say, here's some examples that you can put in your slideshow for other people who are building their own tickler notebook. So this is mostly from kids in a middle school, but it could be anybody.
Sorry.
I love this one. Dog training for dummies. Isn't that cute? That's cute too. I love this one. It's pretty clever. And how about this? VO5, 13-1, everything from shampoo to deodorant to mouthwash. I don't think so. Peanut butter. Someone had a good time doing this. Cookie Monster strikes again. Isn't that cute for a tickler notebook? I love that picture. And radiologist, take a selfie. And how about this? Another wine miracle. And this is when you get your beach towel from Costco. You can fit the whole beach on it. That's ham and acid. Dog owners would understand this. Anybody have a dog there? I poop in dark corners. I eat the evidence. Watch for ice. And I don't know what was going on there, but it made someone's tickle notebook. So did this one. And here's a last video we'll show for the day. My favorite video of all. It's called The End of Paper.
Emma. Huh? Emma. 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 Emma.
Okay, I think we'll stop there. And any other questions, feel free to ask them. We'll
No, I think we're probably at time, but
okay, good.
I so appreciated the giggles today. That was really very welcome. Very welcome.
Good. Thanks, Denise. And I hope you got a couple of laughs. I know it's a different scenario when you're not in your room there, but the idea is this: we all have the message to go out there and try and find things that make us laugh and smile, because we have to be our own best audience.
Exactly.
And we can't rely on someone else. We got to do it for ourselves. But truly, the research shows that it does bring balance into our lives and even helps our immune system.
That's what it's about. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. We so appreciate having you today.